विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चातारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगन रघुनाथमितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगन ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं तत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं श्री चैतन्यम ईश्वरम्. So once again, welcome you all for today's session. And before we start today's session, we just wanted to find out what is the importance of this Bhagavad Gita. And it has been stated, Parvati Devi always is inquiring, and it has a very ardent student that on so many spiritual matters with Lord Shiva. And at one occasion, Parvati asked, my dear husband, you know all the transcendental truths, and by your mercy, I have heard all the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Oh Lord, now I am longing to hear from you the glories of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which was spoken by Lord Krishna, and by hearing which one's devotion to Lord Krishna increases. So when you hear Bhagavad Gita, your devotion to Lord Krishna will increase. That's our end goal. Not that we will be learning all these slokas, but again, end goal is that how we can increase our devotion to Krishna, and that's what will happen when you read. And Lord Shiva replied, my dear Parvati Devi, so once after Lord Vishnu has killed the demon called Mura, he was resting peacefully on Ananta Shesha. When he was resting, Sri Lakshmi respectfully inquired again from him, my dear Lord, if you yourself are amazed by the working of your energies, whatever are the energies, and by a single fragment of your energies, this entire universe is running. How is that? And at the same time, when you are saying that this and these unlimited energies of yours, how can it be crossed over through transcendental matters which were discussed in Bhagavad Gita? So that is what again Lakshmi Devi is inquiring from Lord Vishnu. So then Lord Vishnu says that, my dear Lakshmi, Susharma was very wicked person and a most sinful man. Although he was born in a Brahmana family, his family had no Vedic knowledge. He didn't have any Vedic knowledge at all. And he only took pleasure in hunting others. He never engaged in chanting of the names and never gave anything on charity or receiving guests. In fact, he never performed any pious activities at all. And he just lived on selling some leaves which he got it from the forest, and he was drinking the wine and eating flesh, and he passed his life. One day, this foolish Susharma has gone to a garden of one sage for collecting the leaves, and when a snake came and bit him, and he died. After his death, he took the next life as a bull, and that bull was with a master who was like putting a lot of loads on him and troubling him like anything, and he was so mercilessly beating him also. So when if he doesn't carry that heavy loads, and one day out of exhaustion, that bull who was Susharma in his previous life just collapsed on the road while he was taking all that load on his back. And it was so pitiable to see that the bull was in his last breath and it was about to die. And then the onlookers whosoever were coming, then they thought, what a pity situation this bull has got. Okay, if I have done some punya karma, then let that credit goes to him, this bull, so that at least in the next life he doesn't have to suffer. So then some people have been doing like that and giving some credit. And there was one lady who was a prostitute actually, and she came and she saw the pitiable situation of that bull, and she said, if in my life if I have done any punya, if I have any pious credit, so let this go to this bull. Then she left, and the bull, after little bit time, that bull died, and it went to the Narkaloka. And in the inquiry, when his chitta was really getting told whether you have got what credit, etc., then all your sinful reactions, all your sinful activities, karma, all got vanished. Now you can go and do your next life would be a human life. Then he was surprised. What happened? Then he inquired there in Yamaloka and found out that this lady who was a prostitute, whose karma, whose pious credit was given to him, that has really given him to nullify all that whatever he has done. Then he was very curious to find out who is this lady. So he takes the birth again as a human form, and he goes and in search of that particular lady, and he finds that that lady is there, and he inquires with her, what is that you have done for which my all the bad whatever karma was there just got removed? Then I don't remember, but I know that maybe I bought a parrot, and this parrot I purchased from the market, and this parrot was with one of the sages where they were reciting this Bhagavad Gita, and it picked up the Bhagavad Gita sloka and it was reciting, and especially the first chapter it was reciting. And while she was repeating, I also heard and I was also mentally repeating that. And maybe that is the credit for which I got some good pious credit. So, and then Susharma finds that, and he also engages himself in reading Bhagavad Gita and reciting that. And in his next life, he goes to Vaikuntha after performing those activities of reading Bhagavad Gita. So, the gist of the story is that a person like Susharma can cross over these miseries of the material world by reading Bhagavad Gita. If you have full faith in this literature, which is none other than the Supreme Lord himself, who is there as Bhagavad Gita, if you recite these slokas and one sloka or half sloka or with faithfulness, then you will also cross over this material world. So, yeah, so thank you very much for joining today. So we are in the 7th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. We just started about discussing, and we did not complete, so we will complete that knowledge of the absolute. And so here in this particular chapter, as Einstein once used to say that religion without philosophy was simply a sentiment, and in more accurate situations, down fanatism. So philosophy is required. Religion without philosophy is kind of fanatism. So you just wanted to follow certain things, but you don't know why you are following it. There is no inquisitiveness to find out why. So for each and everything, Krishna, in this chapter, knowledge of the absolute, Krishna delineates certain philosophical truths to instill the confidence and conviction, the process of Bhakti Yoga. Our end goal is always Bhakti Yoga. So to be in Bhakti Yoga, you need to have this knowledge, and that's the knowledge that Krishna is trying to give you here. Okay, and we have seen the link between the previous chapter and this chapter, wherein he ends with the previous chapter Dhyana Yoga to become a topmost yogi, and he says in that sloka where yoginam api sarvesham madgatanantar atmana shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yukta tamo mata. So here he says that always think about me and place me in your mind and remember me. So how to remember is what Krishna is going to link in this particular chapter. So that's what we have discussed, and he says that hearing is the process. Tashrunu. So when you remember Krishna all the time and never forget Krishna, that's your end goal, and that is where Bhakti Yoga culminates. And yeah, so we saw that hearing process, and we have recited this particular verse also. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Shakta Mana Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashraya Ashamshayam Samagrahma Yata Gnashasi Takshunu. It all starts with hearing about the Supreme Lord, and then you will be getting the complete knowledge about what you require, and you will be fixed in your devotional service also in this particular way. When you proceed as given by Krishna, you need to hear. Hear from where? Hear not from any Asta channel or any other person. You need to hear from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. That's it. So no other way. And through a bona fide Guru Parampara, we have seen that Krishna also said that from D6 succession only, you need to get this knowledge. So it starts to gain knowledge. So by hearing, and you will be, what is the next result will happen? You will be free from all doubts, and you want to, then you will be, now you don't want to take the shelter of Krishna. Why we don't want to take the shelter of Krishna? Because you did not hear properly, or you did not hear enough, such that to gain that knowledge, and when you gain that knowledge, you will be free from all the doubts that you have. Does really God exist? Am I really the spirit soul? So why should I really do bhakti? So all these kind of doubts will be clarified, and you will take the shelter of Krishna, Mad Ashraya. So then Yogam Yunjan, then you will be practicing this bhakti yoga. So now we are not really practicing bhakti yoga with that kind of faith, for the reason that we did not follow these other steps, right? And it starts with hearing, Takshunu, and Maya Asakta Mana Prartha, mind attached to Krishna. Now then your mind will attach to Krishna. Now all of a sudden, if you follow this Ashtanga yoga and think that I will become a yogi, it's not possible, because the entire process is not complete as per Krishna, what he is saying. So to do that, it has to start with Takshunu. So that is the exercise that we are doing as part of this. We are hearing about Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita as part of these classes. Okay. So now Lord Krishna explains how to know him by the process of hearing. So first and foremost thing, Lord Krishna, you need to understand that he is the absolute truth. Now the question may come, what does this absolute truth means? Because most of the time we just keep on rutting things. As Einstein used to say, but that everybody knows XYZ of everything, nobody knows ABC of anything. Our fundamentals are not strong. So Krishna emphasizes on the fundamentals and systematically takes you to the next level in Bhagavad Gita. And this is one of the best and systematic manual. If you analyze, there is so much the way he has presented and the way he is connecting one chapter to another chapter. If you also see, there is so much to learn how he is connecting one verse to the next verse. So much. What does this absolute truth means? Means all other truths are relative to it and depend upon it. That's called absolute truth. So that I'll repeat that. Absolute truth means other truths are relative to it and depend upon it. So that is called absolute truth. So anything for that matter, whatever you see, whatever you hear, whatever you know, it's all because of Lord Krishna, because he is the absolute truth. We say that Krishna is the cause of all causes. So that realization is what is absolute truth, and that can relate to Lord Krishna. Okay. Now the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what does this Supreme Personality of Godhead mean? We just say just like that. Oh, who is Krishna? He is Supreme Personality of Godhead. It means that one is in the possession of the 6 of those opulences at the same time and in full. What are the 6 opulences? It has been stated that by Parashar Muni, who is the father of Vyasadeva, he gives a definition. Aishwaryasya samagrasya viryasya yashasriyah Jnana vairagyasya chaiva sangam bhagam itingana. In Vishnu Purana, it is stated that a Supreme Personality of Godhead as one who is full of complete in 6 opulences. What are the 6 opulences? Who has full or complete strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and renunciation. All in full. If you have seen, whenever Krishna comes, and Krishna, there are so many avatars. They say Dashavatars are what is mentioned, but there are so many other avatars. In Bhagavatam only there are so many avatars other than 10 that has been mentioned. So whenever this avatar and avatari, there is a difference. All these are avatars, but when Krishna comes, they don't say it is an avatar. They say that avatari. That means he has come in full and exhibited, and he has come himself in any other. So that is what is avatari and avatar. Okay. Now the absolute truth. How can you realize this absolute truth? The absolute truth can be realized by when you know about Brahman. Brahman is an impersonal way of knowing about the absolute truth, and the comparison is given about the sunshine. When you know that sunshine, it gives you light, etc., etc. When you just know about sunshine, that is Brahman realization, and it's an impersonal aspect of it, and it's only a partial realization of the absolute truth. So we'll see that. And when you know about the Paramatma realization, which is the localized form of the Supreme Lord, that is that you have realized that okay, there are sunrise, and the sun rays are coming from the sun disk that is there. So that is again a partial realization of the absolute truth. And now when you know that this, yes, sun rays are there, sun disk is there, sun planet is there, but also there is a presiding person who is in charge of this particular sun, and that person is, if you also want to name it, that person as so and so person, like in this context what was mentioned in Bhagavad Gita is that Vibhaswan is the sun god. So if you know that, that is the complete realization, that is Bhagavan realization, and that's how we need to see. But what has happened with these yogis and jnanis is that they have only gone to certain extent only. They did not get the complete Bhagavan realization. Whatever realization they have got, is it wrong? Per se, it is not wrong. Now, sometimes we say that sun has come into my home. Did really sun come to your home? Lopalki Surya vachadandi. We say Surya vachadu. Really did Surya come into your home? Just the sun rays have come, but you feel that really sun has come. So that don't mean that, but only that is only a partial realization. So now going forward, Krishna is going to give you the complete knowledge about himself, his opulences, whatever he talked about in a greater detail from now on, because it is the bhakti part. Knowing about Krishna is the bhakti part, and why it doesn't get revealed to everybody? Can somebody tell me why? After reading Bhagavad Gita, lot many people read Bhagavad Gita, they don't become bhaktas. What is the reason? What is the root cause of not becoming bhaktas? Can somebody chat if they know what might be the possible reasons why they don't even become bhaktas, though they read Bhagavad Gita? Anybody? Yeah, no dedication, no faith. Yes, without a guru. Yeah, there could be, and need to surrender. Okay, one and the foremost reason is that they are not hearing properly. Very important. Krishna says that the root cause of everything is that they are not hearing properly, or they are not hearing, but they are not hearing from the proper source, and they are not hearing enough such that they can get all these doubts clarified. So this is what is the problem. And for us, if you see, what is the next thing that he is talking about? A living entity is the spirit soul, and by different yoga process, he is capable of elevating his self-realization. But now, in the previous chapters, you have seen he has given about the Jnana Yoga, where to the extent of Brahman realization, he can go with Jnana Yoga. With Ashtanga Yoga, he can go till Paramatma realization. The Supreme Lord who is there in the Paramatma form, the Vishnu form or 400 form, Paramatma, you can go till that extent. But beyond that, you cannot. But if you think that, we also see that if you are at a, you stop at the Jnana Yoga level, then you are called as a Jnana Yogi, and you are not going beyond that, then there is no use, right? That's what we said. You become, when you stop going further in your yoga ladder, that means you stopped there and you restrict yourself. Now, for us, we need to go till Bhagwan realization level, that is Bhakti Yoga level. And the other things, other two can only, maximum it can go till only that level, Brahman realization and Paramatma realization. Bhagwan realization is what we wanted. Why Bhagwan realization is important? Can somebody tell me why Bhagwan realization? Can't I be satisfied with the Paramatma realization? That is also a realization only, and maybe it is partial, but I'm good. Is that, what's the disadvantage of that? What is the disadvantage of realizing at a Brahman level and Paramatma level and limiting yourself there? Don't go, not going beyond that. Yeah, anything you could think of? No? Okay. See, what happens is that when you limit yourself there and you cannot go till Bhagavan level realization, what will happen is that you wanted to have loving exchange with the Supreme Lord. And that loving exchange of Adan Pradhan and connecting with the Supreme Lord can happen only at a Bhagavan level realization. It cannot happen at Brahman realization or Paramatma realization. Okay, so that is the reason why you wanted to go and take up to this bhakti process, because you wanted that loving exchange. You wanted to really connect with the Supreme Lord as Arjuna got connected to Krishna. So like that. Okay, so now concentrating and focusing the mind of Krishna is what ultimately we wanted to do as part of the Bhakti Yoga. And that is what, if you wanted to connect your mind to something, it has to be somebody as you, as somebody like a personal form of the Supreme Lord is required. So that is the reason why you wanted to take up to Bhakti process. So Bhagavan realization is what ultimately we all wanted. So how do you do that? So engage in the process of devotional service. We have seen Navavida Bhakti Marg is there, and also what Krishna is telling you, Shravana Kirtana Smarana Vandana Pada Sevana Dasyare Pujana Sakhijana Atma Nivedana Govinda Dasa Abhilashare. You take up to this process of Navavida Bhakti Marg, and it starts with the hearing process. And once you do the hearing part, you will be constantly hearing about the Supreme Lord, and it purifies your heart. And once your purification is there, devotee develops the transcendental knowledge. Now we are not able to get this transcendental knowledge because our heart is not purified. See, it is a seed is there. Somebody is trying to sow, but your heart is not. There is not a right environment or a fertile soil where when you put that seed, it will take into a form of a plant. So when you start hearing, then you develop this transcendental knowledge, and then you will be fixed in devotional service. Now we are not fixed in devotional service because we are not hearing appropriately or from the right source. And once you start doing that, it will purify and you get the transcendental knowledge. And then you will be fixed in devotional service, freed from all the modes of passion, ignorance, and lust and greed. Now this is the now the billion-dollar question is that how do I get rid of this enemy? How do I really focus on the Supreme Lord? All these things, but it all starts with hearing. We have seen that, and this unknowingly all this happens in the background. You may say it's not like you have to jump directly. What we are doing is that we are trying to jump from one to another. So means with no confidence that how that other process works. This process works with hearing only. So when you are doing chanting also, they say that you should be hearing the holy name, because when you hear the holy name, it is what is going to purify your heart. Cheto Darpana Marjanam is happening because again you are hearing there. So whether it is Bhagavad Gita you are hearing or the chanting when you are doing you are hearing, so hearing is there, and that is what is going to purify and give you the knowledge and free from all the modes of passion, ignorance, and lust and greed and all these, which are the enemies, which are stopping you to go to the next level. So impurities are wiped, situated in pure goodness. Pure goodness, it is beyond the mode of, there are three modes, tamasic, rajasic, and sattvic. The mode of goodness, this is going next level to the modes, whatever is talked, three modes. It is next level is called Shuddha Sattva. So you are going to that level, which is the next level of Shuddha Tattva. Shuddha Sattva. Shuddha Sattva. Okay. Becomes enlivened in devotional service, understands the science of Krishna perfectly. The science of Krishna. What are we all discussing now on is science of Krishna. It is a science. That means you need to understand, ask inquisitive questions, and proceed further in your understanding. The complete knowledge of the absolute truth that we are talking about, you will be getting when you do this. Okay, I hope I made that clear. So next sloka. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyami asheshatah yajnatva neha bhunyonyat Jnatvayam avashishyate. So here Krishna is talking about, I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and numinous. So what is this something called phenomenal? So can somebody tell what is this something called phenomenal means and numinous means? Anybody? See, what happens is that let's understand what he is trying to, Krishna is trying to give you is the transcendental knowledge. Because this knowledge, what is going, knowledge of the absolute, that's the chapter name. What is this knowledge? It's not like any material knowledge that you get. The material knowledge is called Jada Vidya, or knowledge of the inert matter. Jada Vidya. Jada means inert matter. Jada Vidya. And while spiritual knowledge is called Para Vidya. Para Vidya. Para means which is higher. And knowledge of the transcendence is called Paravidya, and knowledge of the inert matter is called Jadavidya. Jadavidya helps us to use the body and live in this material world, but Paravidya can help us to attain liberation from this material world and can take us to an eternal blissful spiritual world. So that is the importance of getting this transcendental knowledge and just not limiting ourselves in our life with material knowledge. So knowledge of the spirit is considered transcendental because it can free us from our conditioned material existence and relieve from the 4 real problems, which are Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, and also the other 3 kleshas which are always bothering us, Adi Atmika, Adi Bhautika, and Adi Daivika. So once you get this complete knowledge, that includes the knowledge of the phenomenal world. That's what he's talking about, phenomenal world, the spirit behind it and the source of both of them. This is transcendental knowledge. Okay, so what does this mean here? The phenomenal knowledge is basically the knowledge of this entire world, includes material world and the spiritual worlds, and also knowing the spirit behind it. Okay, so this is what it is. Now let's understand. Now you have this body, right? And this body cannot move on its own. There must be some spirit inside. Unless until the soul is there, this body cannot have no chetana, and it does not grow, etc., and it does not move. And the intelligence, mind, intelligence, and ego, whichever are there, which operate, because it is also coming under the jada only. That is also under what do you say, material only, mind, intelligence, and ego. In one way. Now, suppose you have this body, it has to move, you need to have spirit in it. Similarly, this entire universe is also Jada Pradartha only. It's all matter only. And if it has to move, there must be some soul. That is super soul which is moving, and because of him, because of his presence, this entire world is moving. And we also are part of that, and Krishna is there within us also as super soul. And that is the reason why we are also moving. Okay, so understand that the root cause of everything is Krishna, and without him nothing can move, nothing can be moving at all, nothing can operate. He is the controller of everything, including ourselves. If Paramatma is not there, we will also not move, and we are also not, we will be Jada Padartha only. But actually we are part and parcel of Krishna. So the soul and the super soul coexist always, right? Okay. So what will happen, he is trying to tell you, is that when you the fire of this transcendental knowledge, when you take up, and eventually you have seen that in the previous slide, all these karmic reactions which are there, all this will get burnt out, and you will be free, and you will be purified, and you will get the eligibility to go back to Goloka. So that is what we have studied or revealed from the Susharma story, right? So let's see now what he is talking about. Lord Krishna explains the full knowledge, the phenomenal and numinous. What is this phenomenal? The phenomenal is basically the complete knowledge, the transcendental knowledge. Knowing this, nothing more is known. Complete means after this, whatever you know from Bhagavad Gita, that is complete knowledge. You don't have to go, as I told you yesterday, if all the literatures, all the books, everything are somehow vanished from this universe, only Bhagavad Gita remains. Your mankind can go back to Goloka just by the help of this one manual. You don't need anything. That's the greatness about Bhagavad Gita. That is not me saying, that is what it has been revealed in the revealed scriptures and by acharyas. So what is this Jnana and Vijnana? There is a lot of understanding or misunderstanding about Jnana and Vijnana. One of the reasons why, because Sanskrit has got context level meaning, not just like a dictionary meaning, this means this, like in English. Based on the context also things may change. Sometimes we say Jnana is knowledge and Vijnana is realized knowledge. But in this context, it is not. So what is Jnana? The complete knowledge. Jnana is the phenomenal knowledge acquired or perceived by senses is called Jnana. Please understand this. The definitions will change based on Brahman can mean so many things. So similarly here, Jnana means the phenomenal knowledge acquired or perceived by senses. Whatever our gross senses are there, you are perceiving that. Seeing objects as it is appearing on our senses, disconnected from Krishna. So anything that you are disconnecting from Krishna, you can also see that is called Jnana. Just by senses you are able to perceive it. And the next is that Vijnana, numinous knowledge about spirit, not acquired through senses, objects, and it is not necessarily perceived by senses. So anything that is transcendental will, because it is spiritual, you cannot see with your, somebody was asking yesterday, can I see the soul? Soul is numinous knowledge or numinous. That means you cannot be seeing the spirit or soul with your material eyes. So that is Vijnana. So it has to be understood and it has to be realized. In one way, you can say that Vijnana is realized knowledge, because you have to realize that you cannot see it with your material eyes. Seeing objects as Krishna's energy is what is Vijnana. So whenever you see something, you can relate and realize that because Krishna is there, this particular thing is moving and this particular thing exists. I exist because Krishna is there in me. If Krishna is not there, nothing can be it's no more good for us. So similarly, we have been discussing about a lot many things. The controller of both the phenomenal and numinous is Krishna. So that is material and spiritual. The gross elements and the which is spiritual is all Krishna who is controlling. And he is the cause of all causes, source of all knowledge, only object of meditation for all yoga process. Lord Krishna explains to Arjuna, I am giving you this knowledge and you can understand this knowledge because you are my devotee and you are my friend and you are non-envious of me. And that is the reason why I am able to give you this knowledge. That's what is restated in 9.1 and earlier in 4.3. Okay, now that completes the first module of hearing. What's the importance of hearing? Why should he be here? Because unless and until we hear, we cannot really take up to this process at all. So hearing is so important. Now next thing is that everywhere. What does this mean? See, by hearing from an authorized sources, one can acquire this profound knowledge of the divine. So the challenge is that sometimes people say that, can you show me God? Can you show me this spirit soul that you're talking about? You're saying that you're not his body, you're spirit soul. The Krishna cites the analogy of a pearl on the thread. And he says that these pearls are perfectly strung and arranged as a necklace while the thread remains completely invisible. So the thread is not seen, but people see that the pearl is there and that's what it is, because for naked eye, that is what is seen. But the thread which is there inside, which is putting all this together, is not seen. And that is what Krishna is saying, that everything that you see is because I am there in that. When the earth is revolving, or the sunlight is coming, or for that matter the water, see the essence of everything what does it? You see, Matajis might know this. When we say that when you're cooking something or preparing some cake or something, we put some essence. We say that buy an essence and then get it. What is essence? Essence is the substance which is vital for that particular element. Without that, it has no significance at all. That's called essence, right? So that essence of everything is me. That's what Krishna is going to reveal subsequently, saying that I am the light, that the heat in that light is me. I am the fragrance of the earth, and I am that Somarasa in the moon. So many, anything for that matter, whatever you see, you can relate to Krishna, and he is there everywhere. And what is bhakti in one way? Bhakti is to see Krishna everywhere. So whatever I see, I'm drinking water. Actually, when you drink water, you are quenching your thirst because Krishna is there as taste in that water. So that is how you can see. Okay. And as we have seen earlier, if there is a design, there is a designer. If there is a law, there is a lawmaker. And similarly, everything that you see here is because of Krishna. Okay. Bhumirapo nalo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme ninna prakrutimastада. Earth, water, fire, air, either mind, intelligence and false ego. All put together, these 8 constitute my separate material energies. So very important. Understand that these gross elements that you are seeing, which are earth, water, fire, air, ether and mind, ether, these are 5 gross elements. The subtle elements you have seen, mind, intelligence and false ego, all together 8 constitute my separate material energies. We'll see that there is different types of Shaktis, and Krishna in this particular module, he talks about his energies. And in fact, the Einstein whatever formula is called E is equal to mc square. Actually, E is equal to m. Energy and matter are non-different. That is what subsequently other scientists have also found. But point is that all these energies are coming, and matter, whatever you're talking about, is also energy. Energy of whose energy? Krishna's energy. All these are there. Okay. Krishna and the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described here. And Krishna is full of all the opulences, and how we manifest such opulences are described in full detail in the subsequent this module. Krishna is the absolute truth. We have seen that in terms of his matter, spirit, and the controller also, and both. Okay, so knowing matter is Gnana. Realizing the spirit is called, anybody can say? Knowing matter is Gnana. Realizing the spirit is called? What is that called? Yeah, anybody? That is called Vijnana. So knowing the matter is called Gnana. So if you, and realizing, so whenever you are bringing the word called realization, that is called Vijnana. And that realization is about the spiritual things. That is called actually Vijnana. And the importance of this knowledge is what has been stressed in the previous chapter. And subsequently, he talks about 4 kinds of people who become attached to Krishna, and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who will never get to take to Krishna or the Krishna consciousness process. There are so many people we say, "Arey, come man, but listen to Bhagavad Gita," and they are adamant they will never come. They are unfortunate people. And there are 4 kinds of people who will get attached to Krishna. And who are those kinds of 4 people? We will see that in this particular module. And we also know that earlier, if somebody has seen this a beautiful movie, Bhakta Prahalad. Bhakta Prahalad says that in Telugu, very nicely they have written this. Indu galadandu ledani sandehamu valadu chakri sarvopagandu endendu vetikina chusina andande galadu. So that means to say, wherever you there was an inquiry from the demon Hiranyakashipu asking his son. He had this knowledge. How did he get this knowledge? Prahalad, how did he get this knowledge? Anybody? So Prahalad also got this knowledge by hearing from Narad Muni, from an authentic source, when he was in the womb of his mother. But what was his mother's name? Anybody remembers? So if you have read this Bhagavatam little bit, you will know. Yeah. Nobody?
Kayadu.
Kayadu, yes. Thank you, bro. So Kayadu was her mother, and all this lot of stories anyways. The point is that it also stresses about the hearing process. One has to really hear. So yeah, now this is where it will become little theoretical. This is where you need to really pay your attention. I folded hands. I request you, if you have any doubts, please clarify. Don't hesitate to ask. Krishna has got his plenary expansions, and for what he is having these plenary expansions? Because he wanted to create this material world, Prakruti, that you see. He wanted to expand such that he can create this material world and also take care of this execution of this material world. And that is the reason why he has got this plenary expansion. What are these plenary expansions? The first Purusha incarnations, Mahavishnu, called Gardhodakshai Vishnu, is the Mahavishnu. Okay, and he creates the total material energy called Mahat Tattva. He creates the whole material energy. And now there is one Vishnu who comes from Mahavishnu called Garbhodakshai Vishnu, who is also a plenary expansion of Krishna only. Garbhodakshai Vishnu. He enters into every universe to create diversities. Diversities means the 84 lakh species you see that those kind of diversities is what he will create. Garbhodakshai Vishnu. The next from Garbhodakshai Vishnu, there is one Karnodakshai Vishnu who is going to be coming, and this Karnodakshai Vishnu is none other than the Paramatma who resides in each and every living entity, and not only in every living entity, at a Paramanu level, at an atomic level also, he is there as Paramatma, and he enters into every atom and maintains as super soul. So you understand now, lot of confusion for a lot of people is that this material world is for enjoyment of living entities, and living entities are Purusha. They say that I am God, you are also God, and I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. So they kind of, that's what Hiranyakashipu did, that's what Ravana did, and they just got vanished in no time. So we are also like Chota Mota Ravanas, Chota Mota Hiranyakashipus. So we have to come out of this mental concoction that we have, that we are the controllers, we are the enjoyers. But no, we are not. We are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and we are supposed to be servants of the Supreme Lord. Servant meaning we have to serve the Supreme Lord. And how we should serve? We need to serve as in the devotional way. So that is what we need to do, right? And now there is a lot of confusion about people saying that Vishnu and Krishna is the same. Now you see that very clearly. Vishnu is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Everything comes from the source Krishna only. And why he has to create this Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, Karnodakshai Vishnu? Because this material world has to be created and it has to be maintained. So for that reason, they are coming from Krishna only, and the root cause is Krishna only. Okay. Now, how does it relate to these gross material elements that you see, earth, water, fire, ether, mind, intelligence, and points to go, which are separated energies of Krishna? Okay. First, understand one thing. This material creation is temporary. Very important. It might be for a very long duration, but still it is temporary. It has to be destroyed, annihilated one day. So that is what you need to understand. All activities directed by three Vishnus. Whatever the other three Vishnus are there, are directing all this to happen. Ingredients of the material world are separate energies of the Lord, And what are these material energies? It has been discussed very thoroughly in the 13th chapter, 6th and 7th verse. It has been described. So at a high level, the subtle elements are mind, intelligence, and false ego, which we know, and the gross elements are basically earth, water, fire, air, ether are the 6 gross elements. And associated with that, there are objects of senses, the form, taste, touch, sound, and smell, which are also there, part of the separate energies, and also come under the gross elements, objects of senses. The senses itself are eyes, tongue, skin, ear, nose are senses, and working senses are also there: hands, legs, voice, anus, and genitals. So all put together, there are 24 gross elements, and the 25th, not gross, not material, but beyond this material, is called spirit soul, which we are. We do not come under this gross part. So we are spiritual part, which is what is the 25th element. 24 plus 1, 25th. Okay. So the next sloka here, Krishna says that Matah parataram nanyat kinchid asti dhananjaya mai sarvam idam proktam sutre maniganana diva. O conqueror of health, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on the thread. So Krishna is telling here that I am the invisible thread, which is what is making all this happen. These are all my energies only. Nothing has come on its own. Not by Big Bang theory or nonsense theories. So how does this universe form? Foolishly, people bring this called Big Bang theory. What is Big Bang theory? A great explosion happens, and this Earth was formed, the Moon was formed, and all planets have formed, and they started revolving themselves systematically, so that this systematically the seasons come and fruits come on time. Now mango season. Why mango season only in this time? So a lot of things you don't know, but finally it is Krishna who is doing all this because of his energies. This is happening, right? And the foolishness is that this Big Bang theory, but by big explosion, something so nicely has happened. Can you think about one biggest expansion that explosion that has happened in the recent past? Any kind of big destruction that has happened? Anybody? Biggest destruction that you think of? Cyclone, yeah. That's not that big. The biggest. COVID-19 is also not that biggest. Israel. Lot of people are not coming out of this COVID shock. Okay. So the biggest explosion that has happened is in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. So yeah, Nagasaki, Gangadhar. So Hiroshima, Nagasaki, when the atomic bombs were put by US, and instantly everything got vanished. Human beings died. Not only human beings died, everything came to a standstill. Like now, if you see, not even a blade of grass can grow there. Not a grass can grow there. That's what is Hiroshima, Nagasaki, biggest explosion. Now, this Big Bang theory says that explosion happens. And if explosion happens, destruction should happen. Now you're talking about so much prosperity is there, and so much systematically something is formed. Not through that's a common sense, right? So Krishna is the essence and cause of everything. He's the taste of water, light of sun and moon. Om in the Vedic chanting, sound of ether, ability in the man. Whatever ability you have, so maybe intelligence that you have is also coming from Krishna only. The sex potency that you have is also coming from Krishna. So whatever you think about, it's all coming from Krishna. Okay. Again, very important thing. Krishna is the origin of the modes, the trigunas with modes, and therefore is nirguna. That means he is not affected by the modes. That is the reason why it's called nirguna. The modes of nature, rajasic, tamasic, and sattvic. These modes are what are like You think that you are moving or doing things on your own, but no, it is the modes of nature which, like a puppet, you see that puppet wants to lift its hands. So the person who is controlling, he will pull that string and he is lifting his hand. So similarly, we are all acting on because of the modes of nature, which are based on the domination of what particular mode we are acting basically accordingly. If you are very fearful person, very angry, that means you are adjusting by nature. So everything for that matter is coming from Krishna, including the modes. Are, if you see this, there is a Mama Maya Durattaya. So Krishna says that Mama Maya Durattaya. So in the next sloka I will say, we will not cover that. Mama Maya Durattaya means it is very difficult to conquer or overcome these modes of nature. But still, if you take my shelter, Krishna says that since this Mama Maya Durattaya, so these modes of nature are controlled by Durga Devi, and she is operating under Krishna. So when you surrender to me, these modes of nature you can overcome. These modes emanate from the Supreme Lord, and he is not subordinate to them. So that is what we need to understand. The next module that we are going to discuss is accept or reject, wherein here Krishna talks about those people who surrender to him and those people who do not surrender to him, and that's what we will be discussing. Tribir guna mayir bhavir ebhai sarvam idam jagat mohitam nabi janati maam ebhai param abhyayam. Deluded by the three modes of goodness, passion and ignorance, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So that is what we just now discussed. Okay, so these are the modes of nature which are dominating, and if you know that who is the controller and you surrender to that particular person through the bhakti process, you can overcome these modes of nature. Somebody was saying, I am very fearsome, I am very fearful about so many things, because when you have ignorant people, like you say that a donkey is very ignorant. Ignorant in the sense, it is very fearful, always thinking that my master will beat me if I don't lift this load. So it is forcefully doing it. It's because ignorance. The donkey, somebody says, it says that you are behaving like a donkey. That means you are behaving like a ignorant person. So who is truly liberated? How can you get liberated? Only one truly established in Krishna consciousness can get this liberation from that these three modes of nature. Okay. Daiviyesha gunamai mama maya durattaya mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. The problem is that you don't want it to really surrender to Krishna. You do not surrender to Krishna, meaning you don't want, you hearing is good, but again next thing is that you need to put it into practice. Where is that? What is that? There are three stages of executing this Krishna consciousness. One is Abhideya, Prayojana, and what is that? What are the three things? Can somebody remember? Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana. Sambandha Gnana is what you will get by your listening and knowing a lot of things, and Prayojana will come when you keep on listening and also executing things. Prayojana, Sambandha, Abhideya is the process which we should follow. Now say, people say that as per the process, in Shastra it is mentioned that when you take to holy name, the chanting process, then you will be able to overcome and understand a lot of things. So that process we have to follow faithfully, and then only things will come into action, and you will be able to overcome these difficulties what we are facing. So difficult by our own endeavor. See, we have seen it in the past. What is the major difference between the path that this Gnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, and the what is that Ashtanga Yogi but what is their path? The path and the path of a Bhakti Yogi, there is a drastic difference. The drastic difference or the significant difference is that they depend upon their own endeavor. And it is, we have seen that previously, Markata Marg and Marjana Marg. The marg which we are following is the kitten, the way that kitten calls for the mother, and the mother cat comes, pulls up with its mouth and takes it to our destination. So we are in that process, rather than the monkey, small monkey catching the belly of the mother, and on its own endeavor it is wherever mother is taking, you are tightly catching, and your endeavor is more important. If you lose it, you are down, you are dead. So we are following the other mark, where we are following by surrendering to Krishna and doing it for the satisfaction of the Krishna, not for our individual satisfaction. So the next one, Namam Durskrishno Muda Prapadyante Naradhama Mayat Pada Jnana Asuram Bhava Ashrita. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, who are lower among the mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature or demands, do not surrender to me. So Krishna is saying that when you surrender, these modes of nature will not influence you. And now you are not ready to surrender. And who are the people who are not surrendering? Those whose knowledge is stolen by illusion. And what is this illusion? What is the major illusion that we have? Can somebody tell me what is the major illusion that we have? Yeah, anybody? Chandrasekhar Prabhu, fantastic. Yes, thank you. Vamshi Krishna. Yeah, the major illusion is that I am always thinking that I am this body, I am not spirit soul. Okay, so if I am also thinking I am a spirit soul, hardly I am doing anything for enduring. See, somebody asked, Srila Prabhupada, you have created this ISKCON society or established this ISKCON society. And the same question was asked for me also when I was starting my own software firm. What is the vision for your software firm? Why is that you created this firm? So vision is required for anything that you do, establish. Srila Prabhupada was asked, ISKCON society you have established, what is the vision? What is the main purpose of your ISKCON society? He could have told anything, but the main vision of ISKCON, which is mentioned, is that to save mankind from this spiritual death. So save people from spiritual death. What is spiritual death? So are we really spiritually dead? Yes, we are all Jada Padartha, because we are thinking only on matter. So your spiritual death has already happened. Or you mean to say it is not at all ignited at all. So you are more or less like any other entity, like you do not have the spiritual consciousness. So to save you from spiritual death is what the ISKCON is endeavoring for all this. Some people have asked why there are so many organizations which do Annadan and they establish hospitals, this and that. Why are you wasting a lot of money in building temples? And why are you wasting so much of energy in telling Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and all this? Then they said to save our highest goal and our vision is to save people from spiritual death, not from material death. Material death anyways will happen. If you are starving, now you will somewhere you will be able to manage. But spiritual death, once it is happening, that is the gross injustice you are doing to this human society and to your human form of life which you got, which is very rare. So to save you from the spiritual death is what this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita is, and we need to take it that it is very rare that people can come to this particular platform, and you have come, best utilize them. Now there are four kinds of people who never take to Krishna consciousness or surrender to Krishna. The first is Moodas, grossly foolish, like hard-working asses, beasts of burden. Lord of I can also relate to myself when I was working like a software engineer. I was like a Mooda. 24/7, I was only doing the software coding. And why am I doing? My boss is going to appreciate me when I stay back after everybody is leaving, or most of them are leaving at 7 o'clock. I stay back till 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, and send a email saying that I've completed my work, sir. So then this donkey will get appreciation from a bigger donkey. And that fellow at 1 o'clock in the night, he will send an email. Oh, wow. I was also doing, I'm also working till 2 o'clock, and you are also doing that. Very good. That donkey will tell to this donkey. And this foolishness is being operating within us so much. So and it is compared to the donkey. The donkey is having so much of load on its back, and it is moving. And it is moving because the owner of that particular donkey has got little bit of grass in his hand. And this donkey is thinking that, okay, wherever my boss is going, I should go because he'll put me a little bit of grass to eat. But this donkey doesn't know that there is so much of grass on its left and right. And it can just eat that. It doesn't have to work like as Muda, as a foolish person. But just because of this little bit of grass, we are also like working like Mudas. Understand that we are not saying that our Bhagavad Gita never said that leave your prescribed duties or do what you are supposed to do. But at the same time, don't neglect the Sanatana Dharma. Don't, if you are not endeavoring to overcome the spiritual death, then what is that entire work that you are doing? What for? It is like working like foolish mental people, right? So that is the gross foolish, like hardworking asses. More or less, all of us come under that category. The next is the lowest of the mankind is the Naradamas and Asura Bhava Ashrita and Maya Praharta Gnana. So these are the four kinds of people. Envious towards the God or atheistic demons do not come. You have seen that Ravana never succumbed to the good advice that Vibhishana has given. Or for that matter, Prahalad was telling to Hiranyakashipu, Hari is the one, understand that. No, but no, Asuras do not understand. And Maya Praharta Gnana, knowledge stolen by illusory energy. These scientists, the so-called scientists who have been bestowed with so much of intelligence, and finally they are not utilizing that intelligence and they are stolen by this illusory energy. What is this illusory energy? The energy that you see, whatever, is illusory energy. They are just stolen by that. Scientists. I worked as a scientist in IIT Delhi. I know how people like so much of beard. They don't have time to even shave their mustaches and beards and hair. They don't just day in, day out. That is what they're stolen by illusory energy. All these scientists. So these are the four kinds of people. Chaturvida bhajante maam jnana sukritino Arjuna artho jignasur artharthi jnana sa bhartarshava. Oh, best among the Bharatas, four kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. There are four kinds of people. And so what are these four kinds of people that Krishna is talking about? One, the first kind of person is the one distressed. Suppose I have some calamity in my home. I am calamity with myself. I've met with an accident, or somebody has met with an accident, or somebody died. This, that. We are all distressed now because of this COVID. So now a lot of people are coming to hear to this Bhagavad Gita. Earlier, these online classes, when you used to have, hardly one or two people used to join. Now you see that we have so many people joining. Why? We are distressed and we are little bit coming out of that Muda nature. Muda, working like an asshole. Sorry, please forgive me for this language, but we are working like asses, donkeys. So now we came out and realized that what is there working so much for this fellow and for anybody, it is not giving me the happiness. And now we are coming slowly out of this illusion. And that is where when you are in distress also, you will come to Krishna. The desire of wealth. Suppose I wanted to make a lot of money. I wanted wealth. They also come to Krishna. And this, the third category, inquisitive. The inquisitive people are the people who are curious. How does this really universe work? That how is that the distance between the earth and the sun is so much only, such that if it is little 1 inch difference also is there, it cannot really work as expected, and we are all in turmoil. How is that it is precise? This inquisitiveness will also bring us to understand and to take shelter of Krishna. And the last one, who is searching for knowledge of the absolute. Mark my words here. Searching for the knowledge of the absolute. We should really go into the last category, the Gnani category. This Gnani category is the Gnani who is looking for the knowledge of the absolute. Knowledge of the absolute, that is what we have been discussing all about. Why we should not come under, though we see Krishna is so generous, he is allowing all these other kinds of people also to take shelter of Krishna. Okay, but one pitfall is there in the other three categories, where Krishna says as the best among these is the Gnani, who is searching for the knowledge of the absolute. Gnani. So why only Krishna is emphasizing on that, not something else? Not something else. He is not prescribing the others. Okay. We are working for 10 hours, then there is no time for anything else. But now we can come out of this nowadays. Yeah, but see, this is all illusion. Earlier, if you decided, now also there are people who are working more than they were working earlier. Why? Because their bosses are saying, now you don't have to go to commute. Now you don't have to waste your time doing a lot of things. Now you have to work more. There are people. So only thing is that you somehow have made up your mind to come out of it and realized that this knowledge is required. Okay. So I was asking why this fourth category is what Krishna says he's recommending the fourth category, because if you come to Krishna because you are distressed, once the distress go away, you will no more remember Krishna. You just I knew when I was in the temple, there was one lady who came very regularly, and she came very regularly because there was some lot of problems in her home, and because she was so distressed, she came and she was attending the classes, and later on she stopped coming. Then once I inquired, I asked, why? What is the reason why you stopped coming to the classes and attending the classes? She said, I don't even, I no more have any problems, so I am not coming. So once you are coming to Krishna because you are distressed, once the distress is gone away, you will leave. Not necessarily that you will leave, but there is a possibility that you will leave. The same thing with desire of wealth. Once you get the wealth, you will forget about Krishna. Who Krishna? Krishna kaun hai? Because I have popped up with so much of this thing. There was one Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was saying once, when he was the heavyweight world boxing champion consecutively for so many years, he said, nobody even can defeat me, not even God. He was saying like this, no one can defeat me, but not even God, because he was so much popped up with his power. Now, with his own hand, he cannot even lift a cup of coffee. He cannot even lift. He's got a Parkinson disease, one disease where, not Parkinson disease, or some other disease where he cannot even lift now. Right? So, now the desire of wealth is again, he'll come when it is done, then he leaves. Inquisitiveness. See, it is like a window shopping you are doing. Let me see what Krishna is all about. Okay, casual inquiry. So that is the inquisitive. But when you are searching for knowledge of the absolute, the Gnani kind of thing, that is where you need to come under that platform. All this, whatever we are trying to do, you might have come for any of these other three reasons. Now change to the Gnani category. Because with knowledge, when you do your work, see, remember one thing, what we were talking about earlier. What is that? Sakama karma. No, Nishkama karma, sorry. In the Nishkama karma, we said that first is that you need to do your work as a duty. Second, you need to do it with knowledge. Knowledge of what? Knowledge of the absolute. When you do your karma with the knowledge of the absolute and don't expect the results, then you are doing nishkama karma. That is what Krishna is recommended. Okay, he just not given up that not to do the work. Okay, understand that. Bahunam janmanamante gnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. He's saying that after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that. Such great souls are very rare. He says that sudurlabha, out of millions of people, only one will surrender. So you are very fortunate that you came to these particular classes and attending so sincerely, but continue to do that, and that is where your tendency to surrender to Krishna will increase and surrendering to Maya will decrease. You are doing only two things: either you are serving to Maya or serving to Krishna. So come out of the illusion that when you serve Maya, it will take you and give you happiness. That we have tried. We have tried so many times, still we are Buddhas, we are not understanding. Come out of it. And this is the rarest opportunity that Krishna is giving us. Please take it up. The last one, the demigods. So the demigods, who are these demigods and who take up to this worship of demigods is what Krishna is going to tell us here. And Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavati alpamedasa devam deva yagno yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Please note this. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods and their fruits are limited and temporary. Whose fruits? The fruits that are given by the demigods are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet, Goloka or Vaikuntha. So what has happened was that those who surrender also, they surrender, some who surrender to the demigods. And why do they surrender to the demigod? Because they do not have the complete knowledge of the absolute and their intelligence is very small, and that's why they go to the demigods. Okay, now if you see Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, they went to the demigods, they got all the power. And now you may ask, well, how is that these demigods are giving these powers? Where are they getting the powers? In subsequent slokas, Krishna says that I am giving that power to the demigods such that they can give it to them. So it is again coming from the Supreme Lord only, and it is temporary. Once Hiranyakashipu asked Brahma, Brahma, I have done so much of tapas now, austerities, now you have appeared, give me a boon such that I will not die at all. Then Brahma said, I myself have got a death. I have a lifetime where I finish up one day. What are you talking about? What I don't have, what I can give you? Everything I can give you is only temporary. Then he asks, give it this way, I should not die here, I should not die that, blah, blah, blah. But finally, Krishna is more intelligent than this person. So he came in Narsimha Avatar form and he killed this Naradama. Okay, so then, so now, is there any use of going to the demigods then? Actually, truly speaking, there is no use. But we should not disrespect them. Very important. Don't disrespect the demigods. They are doing their job. And they are bestowed their power from Krishna only. They got that power from Krishna only. And what they are one way, suppose somebody has come or worshipped the demigods earlier, what did the demigod basically one way did to us is that at least they made us to have faith in the demigods. That faith part also Krishna says, giving that faith to the demigod worshippers, that I only gave. That faith is me, he says, in the demigod worshippers. That faith which is coming to worship the demigod, that is also me. So indirectly Krishna is saying everything is me. I am the cause of all causes. Okay. So that is where we ended the Bhagavad Gita chapter 7. And thank you very much for your patient hearing. So next is we will be discussing about the attainment of the Supreme, where we'll discuss about the doubts that Arjuna has got about certain other things. He has got doubts, and what will happen in the end of your life, how I can remember Krishna is what will happen when I remember Krishna in end of my life, attaining the Supreme, how can I attain the Supreme, and the devotion, the ultimately how I can be in the devotional service. So that is what is acronymed as DET, DET, and attaining the Supreme. That's what we will be discussing in the next class. So if anybody has any doubts, we'll take it up quickly. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So before we go there, one small thing I wanted to tell you, that chanting is the process by which we can get all this realization too. We have to do three things: sadhana, swadhyay, and seva. All three are required. And swadhyay means self-study, sadhana means taking to the chanting process, seva means devotional service. All three we have to do. Somebody was asking Srila Prabhupada in the while he was in the airport, he was going to a place called Montreal in US, and some reporter asked him, Srila Prabhupada, you are when I take up to this say Hare Krishna Mahamantra, will it relieve me from all the distress that I am going through? Will it all these miseries go away? Then Srila Prabhupada said, yes, absolutely, that is possible, that will happen. Now, then immediately he wanted to counter Srila Prabhupada. He started saying Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So then immediately said, no, my distress are the same. No miseries have gone out. So then Srila Prabhupada says that he shows his boarding pass, which was there where he has to take the flight and go to Montreal. He says that I have taken a boarding pass to board the flight. I have not yet reached Montreal. But since I have taken a boarding pass, that means after 6 to 7 hours, when I board the plane and travel, I will be able to go to my destination, Montreal. So similarly, when you take to this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, when you are chanting also, you have taken a boarding pass, and it will take some time for you to get your purification happen. Anartha nivritti will happen. Then Shraddha, Ashakti. So there is a process that is there. So it will take some time. Patiently take up to this chanting process. Patiently take up to this swadharma. Your swadhyay and to the seva. Then you will be able to reap your benefits. Don't be in haste. This has to be performed very under the supervision of a guide who will always help you. So after this course is completed also, we wanted to start an extended course for this, which is called Gita Sadhaka. Gita Sadhaka is basically a course where you can apply Bhagavad Gita, and we will guide you through that process so that you can retain or apply this jnana. But as Vijnana, realized knowledge will make you realize. Okay, with that I will once again thank you all. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, there is a slok 7.16. In that there is some inquisitive is been written.
Inquisitive.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Just now we have seen that, right? There are 4 kinds of people who come to Krishna. So these out of these 4 people, the third person is inquisitive person. Jignasu. The Sanskrit word for that is Jignasu. See, Jignasu person, he is a kind of a casual inquirer. Which is like doing window shopping. You go to a mall and there are some nice beautiful glasses that are there where they put all their exhibits. So you are just casually going and finding out Oh, so that is what is inquisitive, casual jignasu, right? But that is also a good starting point. And for us, if you say, as in the Shastra it is mentioned that what is that? There is a sloka where it is mentioned that. So I am not remembering that, but again, Jignasa is one of the good starting points for us. Yeah, makes sense, Prabhu, Rajesh
And sir,
Prabhu.
another yes, sir. And another one is like ether. You have used somewhere in ether.
Which one?
ETHER. Something.
Either.
Yeah.
In the gross 5 elements, right?
Yes, sir.
Either is nothing but sky. So if you see in our body also, apart from earth, water, air, fire, okay, you have this either sky component. Sky component is the vacuum that is there. See, between one cell to another cell there is some gap. That is what is the ether component of the sky component, that is called ether. Without that also it is not possible that you will be able to make these things, right? You know that within the atomic structure also there is some free space. Free space is called ether or sky. Akasha Tattva. Okay, Prabhu?
Fine, sir.
Thank you, Rajesh Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So there's a question in chat from Megha Shukla Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, is it possible that we can take to Krishna consciousness by pure mercy of Krishna and Guru Vaishnavas, or it has to be mandatorily the 4 types mentioned here?
See, if you have to get this knowledge, which is spiritual knowledge, you have to. This is the difficulty. Difficulty is that there are 700 slokas in Bhagavad Gita. You give this book to anybody, they will read, and hardly they will be able to get this knowledge. Whatever knowledge you have got so far, that much also they will not read, they will not get, if they are reading it for 20 years also. What is the missing component there? That missing component is the mercy of the Supreme Lord. How will you get the mercy of the Supreme Lord? When you are hearing from a bona fide spiritual source, then only you will get this mercy. And once you have this mercy, you will start understanding this knowledge. If not, you will remain the same as you were earlier. No difference at all. You will be illusioned in the same way. You will be only working like an animal only, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. No change at all. There are so many people in this material world who are so-called Brahmanas by birth also, and they have also read the Bhagavad Gita. They have read these spiritual literatures. Nothing, no change at all. Why? Because they do not have the mercy of the Supreme Lord. When does the Supreme Lord gives you the mercy so that you can understand this? When you have surrendered to the local representative. That means surrender means what? Surrender means attentive hearing. At least give this attentive hearing. And Krishna also says that I am giving you this knowledge, and Arjuna, you will understand this knowledge because you are my devotee, and you are my friend, and you are non-envious of me. So that is the qualification, and then only that mercy will fall, and your heart will be transformed, and that will happen only by mercy only, and that mercy should come from our Guru Parampara, coming from Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Wonderful question.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there is a question from Khushbu Soni Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, even though Shiva is one among the 3 Murti, why is he still considered as a demigod?
See, Shiva is a different category. We cannot 100% say that he is a demigod. Unlike Brahma, other demigods, Shiva is a special category. So please do not consider him as a demigod. So he was, we will discuss about Shambhu Tattva at later point of time. So Shiva is the topmost yogi. He is the purest of the purest Vaishnava. So he is coming under that category. And so yes, he is not to be considered as demigods per se, but he is taken up that role to perform certain activities as a demigod. Understand that he is not that, but still he has taken that role of executing to maintain this material world. He has to be also taking care of his role. So he is executing in that capacity, but you should not consider him as purely as a demigod. He is taken up that role. So please understand that. So he is the Shambhu, and he is the purest of the Vaishnavas. He is the topmost yogi, topmost bhakta. Always he is meditating. Parvati Devi asked, so Shiva, Lord, you are meditating all the time. Who are you meditating upon? Then he reveals that I am meditating upon the Supreme Lord Krishna. So he himself is an example of who is exhibiting by Acharana. He is meditating upon the Supreme Lord. And he is thinking about the Supreme Lord all the time. Meditating means what? It's just thinking of. And Lord Shiva is very merciful Lord. So we will discuss about that. And he is trying to elevate those people who are in the lowest category who are ignorant and who are in the tamasika guna. He is trying to uplift them. Just see what kind of a benevolent and a very merciful Shiva is. Nobody was daring to drink the hala, the poison, the poison which is very so much poison that nobody wanted. Then he has to take it and drink it, and then his name came as Neelakanta. So, and somebody was asking why his name is Neelakanta. His color, somebody asked why his color and Krishna's color is the same. He likes Krishna so much that that color also came to him, and he is also called Neelakanta. Not because of any other reason, because his love towards Krishna is so much that color also he just came like that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So there is a question from Chandrasekhar Prabhu. I think if I'm not very clear, what is actually that? Can you just unmute and ask Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, time is one of the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah, Kala.
Yes. What is exactly is the time?
So, see, we not discussed in detail. Now, if you see this universe, whatever we are there, it has got a time frame. It is temporary. When somebody should come, when one should leave, is all there. It is decided in one way, pre-decided. So now in that context, if you see, Krishna is a Kala because the time factor he can alter also. If you see one example, when sun should set, when sun should rise, this all kind of it goes as per the system law. Krishna is also called Kala because now you see in the Kurukshetra war, he made the sun rise up because he is also able to alter that. So he is beyond that time also. So that and he is Adi. He is where time did not exist, and from that time he is there. In that sense, yeah, we do not have complete description of Kala in greater detail in Bhagavad Gita, but I will also try to get more and get back to you, Prabhu. It's an excellent question that you have. That is also there in my background. I will also find out and let you know. Hare Krishna. A very nice question.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, there is no more questions. If anybody asks from the audience.
Okay. So if no more questions, then we will do short kirtan and then end. Anybody would like to do short kirtan? You can raise your hands. Please do, because you are taking Lord's name. Nothing to shy off. Pooja Mataji, or Chandrasekhar Prabhu, Pavan Kumar Prabhu, Kushbu Mataji, Vamshi Krishna Prabhu, Divya Mataji, Nishtala. Okay, Kushbu Mataji, go ahead, Mataji. Please unmute.
Yeah, Mataji, you can hear.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mataji.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavad Pranam Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam Mataji. Nice.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Taking us to Goloka. Thank you very much, Mataji. So I request all of you also to take up to this chanting process. Holy name has mantra. We have two forms that we can practice this. One is in the japa form and the other is kirtan form. What we are doing is in the kirtan form. From tomorrow onwards, we wanted to do few, take the holy name in the japa form also, so that you can practice in the japa form. And I can also show you how to catch the beats. If you do not have the beats, you can order from the temple. They are able to send it to you in by courier. So please do that also. And once again, thank you all. Please forgive me if there are any mistakes or any shortcomings from my end. And see you all tomorrow, same time. Hare Krishna. Dandavad Pranam to all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vranda ki jai. Dandavad.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavad.